Step into style and comfort with Shivers Bathrooms. From timeless traditional suites to sleek, ultra-contemporary designs, we've carefully selected everything you need. Baths, furniture, taps, and accessories to create the sanctuary you deserve. Visit Shivers Bathrooms, 21 Hillhead Road, Toonbridge, or follow Shivers Bathrooms on Instagram.
Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter.
Welcome back to Local Women's Interiors Podcast. I'm Sheena Thompson, lead designer at Sheena Noel Design, and this is the podcast where we dive into all things interiors, from latest trends to advice from industry experts. And today on the podcast, I'm thrilled to be joined by Maureen from Floor It Letterkenny, an industry leader in timber, solid wood and laminate flooring. Today we're going to immerse ourselves in the world of flooring and discover all you need to know to choose your perfect flooring. Welcome to the podcast, Maureen.
Thank you, Sheena.
It's great
for inviting me.
Great to have you here. So Maureen, maybe you could give us a little background and how did you get into flooring and start Floor It?
We started Floor It on the 24th of April 2017. That was me starting in flooring, but my husband Sean has worked in flooring from he was 15 years old. He started in the manufacturing side and a few years later moved on to installation. So he's been at flooring all his life. But I've just learned bits from him over the years. And since we opened our doors in 2017, I've learned a lot more. So every day is a school day.
Yes, you literally combine decades of experience in flooring, really, don't you? Yeah. And how has the business evolved over those years? 'Cause I know I met you back in, I think, 2017, but Floor It has grown and grown since then.
We have, like, at the start, it was just myself and Sean. We were doing 6 days a week. We just lived and breathed it. But now that we have a staff of 7, like there's 5 fitters and then there's 2 of us in the showroom. And my daughter, Emma, she helps out too at the weekends and the holidays as well. So
right. Brilliant. So for those who don't know a lot about flooring, could you give us like a brief description of the different kinds of flooring? So engineered flooring, laminate flooring, what are the main differences and the types of flooring that you stock at Floor It?
Okay, so the engineered and laminate, the main difference would be price. Engineered would be the more expensive option, with laminate being the most cost efficient option. Engineered flooring has a real wood veneer of 2 to 6 mil and a multiply back, whereas laminate is a more man-made product. It's still comprised of wood, but with your engineered wood, you can sand it again as well.
Okay.
Like if maintained properly, it'll last a lifetime.
Okay.
And laminates typically would have a manufacturer's warranty of up to between 10 to 35 plus years, depending on the grade of flooring.
Okay, that's a good point actually, because I think a lot of people don't really understand there are different grades, isn't it, when it comes to laminate flooring?
Yeah.
So, what is the starting grade, and what can be the differences between the grades and the laminate flooring?
The lowest grade we would have would be AC3. Now AC3 is fine for medium traffic households where it's maybe a couple living on their own. We would usually recommend from AC4 up. AC4 would be for a high traffic house. And then we would have AC5 and AC6, which is commercial grades. But we're finding like a lot of people are doing their research before they come in and they feel a wee bit more content going with the AC5 because it's a much more durable home and it's going to last for longer.
Yeah, and I think that's the misconception maybe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, people have this idea of the cheap laminate floors that we would have seen when laminate was in its infancy and that kind of cheap clicking noise, but these kind of AC5, AC6, they're pretty good, they're pretty realistic and and durable as well now compared to their earlier predecessors, really. Definitely.
And another big thing would be using the correct underlay. If you use a good underlay, it really changes the game. It's not as tingy sounding and things like that there. Do you know what I mean?
So that absorption of the echo and so on makes a big difference in terms. And that's a good point. Like, as you mentioned, with your engineered wood flooring, you can sand it, you can have it refinished. So is there any tips you can give to homeowners who have like an engineered wood floor in terms of maintaining the beauty of your beautiful wood floor?
A big one would be to pad your furniture.
Okay.
First off, and then use as little water as possible.
Right.
When washing them, we would recommend using a flathead mop. Keep them dust and dirt free, because dust and dirt can gather up and act as an abrasive, which is harmful over time. So vacuum them or sweep them regularly, and using the flathead mop.
Yeah. So a big difference, because that is a good point in terms of like steam mops and so on. Like
definitely, I know.
Yeah.
And harsh chemicals as well.
Yeah.
There's a few products out there specifically for wood flooring. The one that we would sell would be Bona. We find it's very good. They've one specifically for laminate and stone tile and and then there's another one then for your hardwood floors.
Yeah, because a engineered wood floor, it's an investment piece, as you say. It can last you a lifetime, and the beauty of it, you can't replace that, can you? Really?
No, definitely not. They're stunning.
Yeah. So now with us all becoming more eco-conscious and thinking about sustainability, do you find consumers are starting to ask you more about, are wood floors sustainably forested? What can people look out for if they're wanting to make sure that the wood flooring that they're selecting is environmentally friendly?
Definitely, there's more people inquiring about environmentally friendly products now, and what we usually say to them is to look on the packaging for the FSC certification mark. Yeah. And what that means is that particular wood has been forested sustainably.
Okay, so there is a definite move towards more sustainably.
Sure.
And in terms of like environmentally friendly, is there much of a difference? Because a lot of people think if you're getting a laminate flooring, and obviously that's got a content of plastic and so on, and is it more environmentally friendly to go for a wood floor over a laminate flooring?
To be honest, there's not a wild difference in them now, because a lot of the laminate flooring now, the HDF core board is made up of 70% recycled wood materials, so they're pretty eco-conscious.
Eco-conscious. Because I thought I was chatting to you before the podcast, and I was saying actually even in my own industry with like fabrics and so on, we're seeing a lot of them being made from recycled plastic as well. Yeah. So actually you are helping to reuse wasted plastic even through using a laminate flooring, which is
definitely
very interesting.
Yeah.
And in terms of projects you've worked on, I know you've worked on some amazing projects, Maureen. I know like you've worked on some beautiful commercial projects. Is there any stands out in your mind as being big projects that you're particularly proud of?
There's been a few. Yeah, definitely. I couldn't pick a favourite, to be honest with you, but a recent one, the Mount Errigal Hotel, which is quite close to us, did a major revamp, and we lifted the old flooring from the restaurant and we put down, it's an engineered smoked wood. It's 2 meters in length and 240 wide. So it's long wide boards, and it's just beautiful. Yeah,
unbelievable. And it really transformed the space, I'm sure.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, big difference.
Gorgeous, yeah.
And when you're chatting about the smoked flooring, are you seeing any particular trends in terms of wood colours? Because I think overall in interiors at the moment, we're definitely seeing a move back towards natural woods, even in kitchens and so on. So are you starting to see any particular shades or like herringbone any patterns you're seeing are particularly popular at the moment?
Herringbone is hugely popular. It has been for a while, and to be honest, I'd say it's going to be around for a while as well. In terms of colours, there's a lot of Scandinavian colours, as you say, the light and neutral colours, and of course the natural oaks, which has always been around. You know, it's always a favourite, but definitely lighter and brighter.
Yeah, so that's what you're saying, the lighter, brighter, that sort of more washed look. Yeah, light and airy, and the beautiful green come through. Because I know in your showroom you've got a fabulous display on the walls of all your different boards, and I think that's what's lovely, is going in and actually seeing not just a board, because I think with a wood floor you can't appreciate from one board what the variation in the grain and the tone that you're going to get. Yeah. And it's lovely to see a beautiful display space that shows you multiple different floorings.
Yeah. I think particularly with engineered flooring, like you do need a few boards to look, because engineered is a natural product, and sometimes you can get a variation in the colouring and the grain, and it's nice that people can see that before they buy, so there's no surprises.
And in terms of laying floor, because one of the things you have to think about is humidity and moisture and so on. I know you used to do moisture testing for space. Always. Yeah.
And particularly in new builds, or if there's been leaks and things like that. Yeah. Like the moisture content's a big one. For underfloor heating, it needs to be 3% and under, and then for above ground heating, it needs to be around 4%. Okay. Just for peace of mind that there's going to be no damp or no moisture coming up or anything like that.
That expertise that you bring, to help customers. Because if you're building a new home or renovating your home, you really don't understand everything in terms of moisture and so on. So it's great to know you have that kind of professional.
It's not something you would think about.
No,
Definitely not.
And in terms that we just touched on underfloor heating, is there much of a difference in terms of conduction of heat between a laminate flooring, say, and a solid wood floor? Because I know a lot of new builds now are having underfloor heating.
Yeah.
And what is there either you'd recommend over the other?
To be honest, there's not a wild big difference.
Okay.
Laminate would be a little bit thinner than the engineered flooring. So the initial startup, the heat would come through a little bit quicker. But with the engineered being that bit thicker, the heat would stay in it for a bit longer. So either or.
So that's interesting. So if you're putting the laminate down, you'll notice the quick gain in heat.
Yeah.
But the timber floor, the engineered floor, is going to hold that heat.
It's going to hold it for a bit longer. Yeah.
That's a.
And wood flooring's a wee bit warmer underfoot anyway. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, it's going to have that feeling of warmth
anyway.
Yeah, your passion really is lying with the wood floor. Yeah, absolutely. And would you say there's any challenges in terms of running a flooring business? Anything you find is the hardest part of running a flooring business?
I would say scheduling probably would be one of the challenges, particularly with new builds. There can be delays times, and it's just trying to keep keeping it rotating and keeping everybody working. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because things like buildings drying out, like this time of year, not so bad.
Yeah.
That moisture content thing probably holds things up at times, and other trades.
It can do, yeah.
And so getting your timing and your scheduling.
Yeah.
And in terms of floor, what point in the build would you recommend for flooring to be going down? Like before skirtings and so on go,
Ideally, yeah. And, you can put your skirtings and things on then afterwards, because you need to leave like the wee expansion gap around the edges to allow for breathing. And put your skirtings then on top, then covers that.
Yeah. I mean, you find that's something people maybe neglect to think about when they need to think the floor needs to be down now and trying to get that scheduling right.
Well, with new builds, it's not really an issue because
building contract or whatever usually helps to kind of give the advice in terms of when they need to put the flooring down.
When you're doing renovations and things like that, people tend not to think about skirtings, until they're in, and then you mention, what are you doing with your skirting? Sometimes it could be a case of that the skirting stuck to the wall. Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
and it can be tricky then. So what we would normally do then is use just a wee bit of beading or a bit of skirt around the bottom.
Yes, to finish it off.
Yeah, it covers that. And some people like it, some people don't like. It's just down to personal choice.
Yeah, but you have to kind of, there's always a way.
Yeah,
it's always a way. Yeah. And if you were thinking of a dream project in terms of flooring, is there any particular project you would love to have worked on or would be a dream for you to be working on?
Myself and Sean were in Paris about 20 years ago, and we went to the Louvre, and the flooring in the Grand Gallery in the Louvre was just amazing. And as we were going through it, like everybody's looking at all these amazing paintings and we're looking at the flooring.
You're like me. I spend my life working on interiors, and like even TV programs like that's wallpapers from here that you're looking at. Yeah, you spend your life looking.
The flooring was stunning.
Yeah,
just stunning.
Yeah, and that's something you'd love to work on a commercial space like that.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Amazing. So if anybody's looking for inspiration in terms of flooring, you're on Instagram, Facebook.
We're on Instagram and Facebook. Our webpage is www.floorit.ie, all lowercase.
Yes, and you have a beautiful showroom.
A showroom in Letterkenny too.
For advice and so on. And I think that's what people are lacking now, is that extra advice and expertise that you bring to the flooring that you don't get with other retailers.
Yeah. Well, we find that people come in and they can pick the flooring, and we take care of everything then,
measure and fitting.
Measure, moisture testing, and fitting everything.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Maureen. That was really educational in terms of what we need to look out for when it comes to flooring, particularly with underfloor heating and the recycling. And we look forward to seeing more from Floor It in the future.
Thank you, Sheena.
Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter.
Step into style and comfort with Shivers Bathrooms. From timeless traditional suites to sleek, ultra-contemporary designs, we've carefully selected everything you need: baths, furniture, taps, and accessories to create the sanctuary you deserve. Visit Shivers Bathrooms, 21 Hillhead Road, Toonbridge, or follow Shivers Bathrooms on Instagram.